So in the last class, we covered the first part, the first unit of governance. So specifically in the last class, we covered what is Sevottam model, social audit, as well as e-governance. And the various aspects of e-governance and social audit we have discussed. Any doubts from the yesterday's class? Fine. So in today's class, we'll discuss about the role of civil services in a democracy. Role of civil services in a democracy. The role of civil services in democracy. So basically this unit we are going to discuss about the job profile, the roles, responsibilities of whatever your future job profile, right? So many of you know about what exactly is this civil service, civil servant. You know, many of you already know, many of you don't know completely. So let's just discuss this, the overall idea of civil services and their role in a democracy. So specifically in a democracy like India. Okay, so we are going to talk about that. So Abhi, I hope all of you are able to get the overall idea of governance. जैसे हमारा Abu Sufia is also saying, I hope you're able to understand what exactly is the governance. See, the idea of governance आपको पता है, so because you would have read in detail about that in the polity and constitution. Polity and constitution के अंदर आपने देखा होगा, like you would have seen about the various system. Governance is more about how we are going to implement that in a practical manner. So which is actually a little bit more different. है ना? So in fact, जो whatever we are going to study in this class is also little bit different than what you are going to see on the ground. So on the ground जाके देखोगे और बहुत चीजें आपको पता चलेगा. So but at least I hope I am able to bring some idea into how exactly the things are on the ground, the implementation of the constitution and the political system, how exactly they are working. That is the overall idea of governance. So it is not something like आप theory book में पढ़ोगे या theory में पढ़ के यहाँ आके लिखोगे. It's more about how exactly you think. So my idea is to shape that thinking. No, I hope that has been helpful. So let's talk about role of civil services in a democracy, the second unit. So let's try to cover this up today. Yes, as I have said, let's try to make it little bit faster. नहीं. ठीक है, by the time I get a pen to write, so let me ask you something. So let's talk briefly about the evolution of civil services in India. Can somebody tell me when was the first reference, the historical reference to civil services? What was the earliest reference which we can take? So कब था the civil services, the system of civil services in India? So when was the first system of civil services in India was established? बताइए. The topic is role of civil services in a democracy. Role of civil services in a democracy. The first topic, evolution of civil services in India. Evolution of civil services in India. So कब हुआ था? What was the earliest reference which we can take to the civil services in India? Okay, majority of you are saying Cornwallis. 1853 Charter Act, ठीक है. 1935 Federal Public Service Commission, ठीक है. 1860 AD, okay. Anshul, I think you are confused. Cornwallis, so 1853 में he was not there. 1853 is Dalhousie. But all of you are talking about British. What about pre-British era? Did we have any kind of civil services at that time? So if you go back to the period before British, did we have any kind of civil services? The system of civil services कुछ था? On record, what is the earliest reference which we can take? On record, the earliest reference to civil services in India. Very good, Sweta. It was from Arthashastra. It was from Arthashastra. Who wrote Arthashastra? Kautilya. Okay, he's also called as Chanakya, Kautilya. So he had written this book, the wonderful book called as Arthashastra. So in this Arthashastra, Kautilya had spoken, kab? That time, 4th century BC. Around 2300 years ago. That was the time period. At that time itself he had spoken about the necessity of civil services. He had even spoken about the method of selection of civil servant. Of course they would not have used the term civil services are जो bureaucracy का जो हिंदी का equivalent है, so they would not have used that, but the system was same, the bureaucracy. So they had developed a very good system of bureaucracy and he had clearly mentioned about that, the necessity, their rule and the method of selection and even the method of promotion. इसके बारे में clearly लिखा था. Okay, in Arthashastra. That is the earliest reference we get. That is the earliest reference of civil services in India. The modern civil services तो बहुत बाद में आया था. So other than that, so Kautilya's Arthashastra, you can imagine. Arthashastra, we did not even know that such kind of book was existing. History में modern India, medieval period में many people have written about that. They had written their own commentaries about that. तब पता था. बाद में I don't know, for some reason in between the idea of Arthashastra was forgotten. किसी को पता भी नहीं था. Okay, and it was excavated, was discovered during the British period. Okay, 1900 beginning first 1 or 2 decades में कहीं पे. So they had excavated one of the copies. एक copy मिला था. फिर then they started to read about it. Then they got to know about the entire Mauryan era, the period of Chandragupta Maurya and all the administration over there, which was mentioned by Kautilya. Okay, that was the first reference. Okay, you can keep writing. The first reference goes back to Kautilya's Arthashastra, where the principles of selection and promotion of civil services was mentioned. So उसके बाद में भी the system of bureaucracy in different names was existing, and majorly that was given a proper shape during the Mughal period. Okay, during the Mughal period, a proper shape was given for the system of civil services. So basically, to manage the revenues, the revenue system, the revenue management of Mughals, they were very well known for an efficient administration, and the revenue management of Mughal, as well as even to manage their factories. Okay, Mughal time में there were factories. उसको manage करने के लिए they had appointed the bureaucrats. So that system was one of the very well known and one of the very well established. So Kautilya के बाद में major reference goes to Mughals, as well as we can take to Vijayanagara Empire. Okay, Vijayanagara Empire में भी, so there was some systematic administration, some appointment of civil servants, the bureaucrats to look after the law and order and even to revenue collection. All of this was systematically managed. The modern civil services dates back to Warren Hastings. Okay, Warren Hastings. So after Robert Clive, the first person, you know, who was basically reformed the administration of British. At that point of time, it was the East India Company. So at that point of time, they wanted to reform the method of collection of revenue. So first of all, why they had to get into collection of revenue? East India Company, though it was a trading company, they came to India for trade, import, export, right? So after the Battle of Buxar, we all know about the Battle of Buxar, the importance of Battle of Buxar. So after that, they got the trading rights, the revenue collection rights, trading rights to pehle se tha, the revenue collection rights in Bengal and Odisha and parts of Bihar also. In this province they got the revenue collection. So usko manage karne ke liye they want the officials. To manage the revenue collection, they wanted officials. At that point of time, to make it little bit more efficient, Warren Hastings established the institution of collector. The so-called collector, the office of collector and the institution of collector was established during the period of Warren Hastings, and that was in 1772. Okay, तो अभी पता चला क्यों कलेक्टर को कलेक्टर बोलते हैं. सो इट वाज बेसिकली द ऑफिस व्हिच वाज एस्टैब्लिश्ड टू कलेक्ट रेवेन्यू कलेक्ट करने के लिए एस्टैब्लिश हुआ था. तो अभी तो ही वुड नॉट बी कलेक्टिंग समथिंग डायरेक्टली, so he would be the in charge of the entire district administration. Still he is still called as the collector in many of the places. They call him as the collector only. District जो DC बोलते हैं, है ना, DC actually the name of DC was district commissioner in many of the places, but still they informally called as collector. So basically it was established for the collection of revenue. Okay, it was established for the collection of revenue. I hope you guys are writing it down. So ज़्यादा कुछ formal dictation का ज़रूरी नहीं है. Okay, Warren Hastings is the one who established the system of in the institution of collector, in 1772 for the collection of revenue. So even though it was Warren Hastings who established the system of collector, the institution of collector, it was the Lord Cornwallis who is called as the father of civil services in India. Father of civil services in India. So why he is called as the father of civil services in India, even though Warren Hastings was the one who established, Warren Hastings pehle tha. So then comes Lord Cornwallis. Why was he called as the father of civil services in India? Because he reformed and reorganized the entire system of civil services which was existing till then. Okay, of course Warren Hastings का जो system था, it was for collection of revenue, but it was too much of mixed up. The powers, all of them were mixed up. Law and order power was there, collection power was there, and there were also जमींदारीज, उनके पास में थोड़ा सा law and order power था. So ऐसे बहुत सारा mix up हो गया था. So it was the Lord Cornwallis who reformed and reorganized civil services in India. Lord Cornwallis reformed and reorganized civil services in India. So that is why he is called as the father of civil services in India. He is the one who separated the judiciary function from the revenue collection. He separated the judiciary functions from revenue collection, and he also formulated a code of conduct for all these civil servants also. So that's why he is called as the father of civil services in India. So basically क्या he reformed and reorganized civil services. He separated revenue from the judicial system, and he even formulated the code of conduct. He formulated the code of conduct also. So that was Lord Cornwallis. So at this point of time, we are talking about the period from 1773 till 1857 tab tak. Okay, that is the period of the rule by East India Company. At this point of time, East India Company, even though they were actually ruling India, so they were not the sovereign rulers. The actual power was lying with the British Crown. British Crown के ही अंदर था. Whatever the areas which are under their control, everything, they were ruling on behalf of the Crown. Okay, they were the one who were administering on behalf of the Crown. Okay, so if you see in every Charter Act, they had extended the period up to which they will continue ऐसे बोल के. So that was extended from 1813 से 1833 तक हुआ था, फिर 1833 से 1853 तक हुआ था. So the last time when they extended, they in fact they did not give a timeline also. पहले 20 years तक time दिया था, उसके बाद में timeline भी हटा दिया. तो उसका मतलब है उसको कभी भी हटा सकता है. So basically they were given the responsibility to govern the territories which are under their control. उसका मतलब ये नहीं कि they were the one who were directly ruling. It was governed by the British Crown through the East India Company. After 1858 revolution, we know that the British Crown directly interfered and they said हम ही इसको चला देते हैं, like जो भी governance करना है तो we will do it directly. So before that period, okay, before the revolution of 1857, so basically the company wanted people to run the administration. The East India Company wanted people to run the administration. So that is why they started to establish the system. They started to make everything streamlined, to develop the system of civil services as such. But how were they selecting them? कैसे selection हो रहा था? There was no system of selection. अभी जैसे exam है, हम बैठ के पढ़ाई कर रहे हैं, okay, तो हम भी पढ़ा रहे हैं, सब तो जो भी system है. So ऐसे कुछ system भी नहीं था. So earlier the bureaucrats were directly nominated by the company. They were directly nominated by the company. Okay, whoever they think, and they used to bring people from their hometown, है ना? तो लंदन से लेके आ रहे थे, इंग्लैंड से लेके आ रहे थे. So they used to govern. It was majorly nominated by the company. There was no system of election at all. For the first time, the system of selection. Not election. For the first time, the system of selection was introduced, at least tried to introduce by 1833. Charter Act of 1833 tried, but it did not succeed. Charter Act of 1833, we know that it is one of the important act which tried to bring major reforms in the Indian administration. Okay, coming to your doubt, Pushpendra has a doubt that should we write the name of these, can we directly write the name of these without mentioning Lord? Yes, of course you can write, but you have to mention their position at least, है ना. So Lord बोल दिया तो थोड़ा सा ऐसे familiarity है, तो इसलिए ऐसा कुछ Lord नाम से add हो गया था, otherwise तो ऐसे there's nothing about their lordship. We all know about their the way of administration. So if you don't want to write, at least mention their position, है ना, Governor General of that period, ऐसे period लिख के आपको बताना पड़ेगा. So I was talking about the Charter Act of 1833. It tried to introduce the system of competitive exam for civil services in India. It tried, but it did not succeed. It did not succeed, and it was finally introduced in the Charter Act of 1853. Charter Act of 1853 finally introduced the system of competitive exam. मतलब एक exam conduct करेंगे, we will ask them to appear, and whoever is clearing that, we will select them. That competitive system of competitive method of examination of selection of the candidates for bureaucracy was started through the Charter Act of 1853. ठीक है, but at this point of time there was a division between the different types of posts. Okay, one was covenant and another was non-covenant. Okay, I hope you know about this difference. So earlier this difference was there. Covenant, non-covenant, basically जो higher level पे होता है, group A, group B बना दिया अभी. So that is all they're referring to covenant, and non-covenant is basically only lower bureaucracy. 1853 introduced the system of open competitive exam for non-covenant posts only. It was only gradually they introduced it for covenant posts. Okay, and then they removed the distinctions, थोड़ा सा ऐसे बना दिया, group A, B, C ऐसे बना दिया, so without much distinction between them. पहले तो बहुत ज़्यादा discrimination हो रहा था between covenant and non-covenant bureaucracy. So even though it was introduced in 1853, even though it was introduced in 1853, so they did not have any kind of system to conduct that. So इसलिए in 1854 they appointed a committee headed by Lord Macaulay, okay, which is also called as Civil Services Commission. Civil Services Commission under Lord Macaulay. So under his chairmanship, a Civil Services Commission was established to recommend how should we conduct this open competitive exam. 1853 एक्ट के थ्रू बोल दिया था कि ओपन कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्जाम होगा, सो उसको कैसे कंडक्ट करना है वो सिस्टम सेटअप करने के लिए दे एस्टैब्लिश्ड ए कमीशन, एंड दैट वाज द सिविल सर्विसेज कमीशन chaired by Lord Macaulay. So it is also called as Macaulay's Commission of 1853. 1853 में कमीशन एस्टैब्लिश हुआ था, 1854 में it gave out the report. Okay, the report came out in 1854. So through its report, it provided that examination conduct करना है, through a competitive examination we will select the candidates and that would be open for all, with a age limit of 18 to 23. With the age limit of 18 to 23. We cannot believe that it was the age limit earlier, है ना? Yes. Okay, basically to limit the entry, they had kept this age limit of 18 to 23, and that too, the examination would not be conducted in India, it would be conducted in London. Okay, it would be conducted in London. You have to go to London to write the examination and clear it, then you have to come back to India. Okay, of course you will come back to India even if you don't clear it, वो अलग बात है. So सोचो अगर आप लोग ऐसे सिस्टम भी अभी भी ऐसा ही है तो like all of you would have been in London, एक ट्रिप हो जाता फॉरेन ट्रिप आपका, right? So so even though the examination was being done for India, it was done for India, for the administration of India. So they used to conduct the examination over there. They used to select the candidates over there, है ना? So that was as per the recommendations of Macaulay committee. Okay. The examination will be conducted in London and the age group would be 18 to 23 years, and they said competitive exam बनाएंगे, that would be made open to everyone. Fine. So even though they started to conduct the examination, it took nearly 10 years for an Indian to clear this examination. Who is the first Indian to clear the Indian civil services, the imperial civil services? Who is the first Indian? Can somebody tell me? It was in 1864. It was in 1864. Okay, it took nearly 10 years for an Indian to clear this examination. The conditions were so strict. Yes, it was Satyendranath Tagore. Satyendranath Tagore. You know, even Tagore is also a word which is anglicized. Okay, so originally Bengali में होता है ठाकुर, तो ठाकुर को टैगोर बना दिया, है ना? So basically his name is Satyendranath Thakur. Even Ravindranath also Thakur only. So it was anglicized version, Tagore. So Satyendranath Tagore. So is he in any way he is related to Ravindranath Tagore? So who is this Satyendranath Tagore? Yes, it is his brother. Satyendranath Tagore was the brother of Ravindranath Tagore. And you know, the examination was one of the toughest at that point. अभी तो पता है, we call it as one of the toughest examination in the world, ऐसे सब कुछ बुलाते हैं. तो अभी तो इंडिया में examination conduct हो रहे हैं. It has become tough because of the competition here. So at that point of time, it was not because of the competition, it was because of the method of selection. It was one of the toughest. Of course, मैंने बता दिया आपको लंदन तक जाके आना पड़ेगा, आपका खुद का एक्सपेंस है, ऐसा नहीं कि they would give you money reimbursement, तो नहीं करेंगे ये सब तो. Okay, आपको लंदन तक जाके आना है. दूसरा, even the syllabus, the procedure, everything was so tough. Okay, those who are actually appearing, they had to pass various tests, including a horse riding test. Okay, because at that point of time, revenue collection के लिए majorly you have to look after a particular area, है ना? So the major mode of transportation was horse. हाँ, बहुत सारे ऐसे सब्जेक्ट्स भी था, ग्रीक वगैरह ये सब तो पढ़ना चाहिए था. एंड वन वेरी फेमस इज हॉर्स राइडिंग टेस्ट. हॉर्स राइडिंग टेस्ट क्लियर होना ही है, तभी आपका सिविल सर्विसेज क्लियर होगा. अभी तो आप लबासना में जाके हॉर्स राइडिंग करोगे, है ना, वहां पर भी सिखाएंगे. सो वी हैव ऑल दैट थिंग. सो बट वो पहले ही क्लियर करना था, because that was important. Like it was overall, they made it tough so that less number of Indians would enter it. Fine. So that thing was continuing for a very long time, and the another major event in this evolution of civil services in India is 1911. So that is when in 1911 they created the Imperial Civil Services in India. Okay, Imperial Civil Services, ICS, which was also called as Indian Civil Services or Imperial Civil Services, right? So that was created as a separate service, as one of the topmost service among all the different services, है ना, with greater power in the entire district. पूरा district को control करने के लिए, पूरा administration को look after करने के लिए, they established this ICS as a separate service in 1911. उसके पहले ऐसे बहुत सारा मिक्सअप था. इट वॉज नॉट क्लियर, एक ही पोजीशन में ऐसे पावर्स वर नॉट कॉन्सेंट्रेटेड. बट ये जो आईसीएस है, जो अभी प्रेजेंट आईएएस है, उसका predecessor, that was established in 1911, and it was the 1919 Government of India Act. The 1919 Government of India Act which made a clear distinction between all India services and then central services. All India services and then central services. That clear distinction जो अभी भी चल रहे, it is being continued. So that distinction was made in 1919 Government of India Act. So what is this all India services? We have three all India services, if you know about it. This IAS, Indian Administrative Service, IPS, Indian Police Service, and IFS, Indian Forest Service, not Foreign Service. Foreign Service is not all India service, and there is no clear official recognition of IFS as Foreign Service. Both फॉरेन भी आईएफएस बुलाते हैं, फॉरेस्ट भी आईएफएस बुलाते हैं, कि दोनों को आपस में झगड़ा चल रहा है, बहुत सालों से चल रहा है. सो हु शुड बी कॉल्ड एज आईएफएस? ओके, पीपल से आईएफओएस, दैट इज नॉट द ऑफिशियल टर्म. ऑफिशियली इट इज आईएफएस ओनली, इवन फॉर फॉरेस्ट, इवन फॉर फॉरेन, दोनों के लिए आईएफएस ही है. सो इट इज, वी हैव थ्री ऑल इंडिया सर्विसेज दैट वाज डिमार्केटेड फ्रॉम रेस्ट ऑफ द सेंट्रल सर्विसेज. व्हाट आर द सेंट्रल सर्विसेज? सेंट्रल सर्विसेज में यू आर ए सिविल सर्वेंट, ग्रुप ए ऑफिसर वर्किंग फॉर द सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट. For example, revenue service, Indian revenue service, IRS होता है ना. So you are not working for the state government, you are working for the central government. Of course थोड़ा सा ऊपर नीचे होता है, तो आपका functioning area state government के अंदर भी आ जाता है. So but you are directly working for the central government. That is what is IRS. You have IRS, IRTS, audit and account service, postal service, railway traffic service, and trade service. ऐसे बहुत सारा जो भी services है, where you are directly working for the central government, that is what is central services. Other than that, we have three all India services, IAS, IPS and IFS, that is forest service. ये demarcation 1919 में हुआ था for the first time, and that system is continuing even now. And till now, till 1919, there was no Civil Services Commission at all. There was no specific commission to conduct the examination, to select the candidate. It was not done through a commission. ऐसे ही government के through हो रहा था. Okay, because commission brings more independence in the manner of selection of candidates. They will do everything on their own terms. Okay, they will set the examination paper, they will conduct it, and they will finally select. Then they give the list to the government. That is more independent method of selection of candidates. till 1919 it was there. In fact, not only 1919, उसके बाद में भी नहीं था, but it was introduced the provision of setting up a commission for selection of civil services, that is Public Service Commission, was also introduced in the Act of 1919, the Government of India Act of 1919, Public Service Commission. So that time it was just called as the Public Service Commission only. उसके बाद में FPSC हुआ था, then finally UPSC हुआ था. The provision was given in 1919 Act and it was finally established in 1926 after the recommendations of Lee Commission. Okay, Lee Commission report के बाद में they finally set up a Public Service Commission to conduct the examination. Okay, there were some changes जो मैंने बताया था अभी, classification of all India services and central services, establishment of a Public Service Commission, ये सारा act में introduce हो गया था. उसको implement करने के लिए government had established a commission, that is what is Lee Commission, and Lee Commission recommend किया. Then finally in 1926 they brought a Public Service Commission, and this Public Service Commission PSC was changed to FPSC and PPSC. FPSC is Federal Public Service Commission, PPSC is Provincial Public Service Commission, under the Act of 1935. The Government of India Act of 1935 provided for the establishment of a Federal Public Service Commission at the central level and a Provincial Public Service Commission for the provinces. So PSC जाके FPSC गया, it became FPSC. FPSC was established, and finally in 1950 FPSC was renamed to UPSC, है ना. FPSC was renamed to UPSC, जो हमारा मक्का of civil servants, the Union Public Service Commission, which all of us are aiming to finally appear in the interview round and come out successful, है ना. That is what is UPSC. That was finally established in 1950 by reforming and renaming and reforming the earlier Federal Public Service Commission. And another major event also happened in between. Okay, 1947 में एक event हुआ था. So during the partition, the civil servants of India was also partitioned into two groups. Okay, one for India, another for Pakistan. Okay, the liberty was given to the public servants, the civil servants, to choose whatever the country they want. Okay, they were given the liberty, and few of them they went to Pakistan and they were allotted their cadres over there, and few of them they remained in India, and जो भी यहाँ पर था, so they became the Indian bureaucracy. Okay, it was split into the earlier overall Indian का जो civil services था, that was split into Pakistan civil services and Indian civil services in 1947. At this point of time, after we got the independence and after we even became republic, and during that process when we are making our constitution and all, so there was a strong debate, should we continue the system of civil services in India or not. There was a strong debate. In fact, there was a strong opposition for continuing. There was a strong opposition for continuing the system of civil services in India. Particularly ये जो हमारा ICS है. ICS is Imperial Civil Services or Indian Civil Services, which was renamed to IAS, right? So that was also the year 1947. That is when IAS, the first batch of IAS, okay, they even cleared IAS, the first batch of IAS cleared IAS even before the India got independence. August 15 के पहले ही उनका पास आउट हो गया था. At that point of time, there was a huge debate whether should we continue them or not. IAS को continue करना है, ICS को continue करना है या नहीं करना है. It was Sardar Patel who strongly supported the continuation of IAS. First point, why they were opposing the continuation of IAS, because these were the people who were opposing the nationalist movement, who were jailing all of these leaders. ये जो कांग्रेस के leaders थे, who are fighting for the national movement, क्विट इंडिया मूवमेंट हो गया, सिविल डिसोबीडियंस मूवमेंट हो गया, तो इनके सबको इसके अंदर जेल में कौन भेजा था? ये सारे ऑफिसर्स ही है, पुलिस ऑफिसर्स, आईएएस ऑफिसर्स ही, आईसीएस ऑफिसर्स ही। तो ये लोग तो वापस पावर में आ गया, तो अभी तो बोल रहे कि तो हमें ये जरूरी नहीं है, क्योंकि दिस इज something which is done by the British. It was a British system. Should we continue this system or not? Should we really need this system? Do we really need this system or not? So that debate was going on. At that point of time, Sardar Patel strongly supported the continuation of Imperial Civil Services as Indian Administrative Services. Okay, IAS उसको change करवा के उसको continue करने के लिए he strongly supported. Why? That's because, see, if earlier time they were being loyal to the British administration, that means they were loyal to the administration. They were loyal to the power who is running the country. And it is expected the same now also. ऐसा नहीं कि after independence they will be loyal to the British. ऐसा तो नहीं होगा ना. So they will be loyal to those who are running the country. Second thing, they believed in the system. The people, the cadre of ICS, they believed in the system. They wanted to maintain the system. इसलिए whoever is breaking the system, उनको अंदर करने का कोशिश कर रहे थे. They were trying to maintain the law and order, which is very much required even after independence in an independent country like India. In order to ensure the stability of administration, in order to ensure the law and order, the growth of country, we need this system. तो इसलिए उनको कंटिन्यू करना ही है ऐसा बोल के they just changed the name, they just made some basic reforms, and then they continued it as IAS, Indian Administrative Service. Okay, as I told you, independence आने के पहले ही first batch of IAS they passed out, and that was addressed by our Sardar Patel. Okay. So this is all overall evolution of civil services in India. Fine. So starting from Kautilya's Arthashastra, Mughal Empire, Vijayanagara, then Varanasi, Lord Cornwallis, who is called as the father of civil services, Charter Act of 1833, which made an attempt and which was finally introduced in Charter Act of 1853, which introduced the open competitive system. उसको implement करने के लिए there was a commission under Lord Macaulay, 1854, who gave the recommendation for entry as well as the method of conduction of examination. Then it was in 1864 where the first Indian to clear the civil services. It was 1911 ICS was established. 1919 All India services were grouped separately. Along with that, the Public Service Commission was also established. 1935 FPSC and PPSC. 1947 the bifurcation of Indian civil services into India and Pakistan and renaming of ICS into IAS, and finally 1950 FPSC was changed to UPSC. यार हिस्ट्री ऑफ लबासना ये सारा तो पढ़ने का जरूरी नहीं है, सो डोंट वरी अमितेश, एग्जाम का पार्ट में ये नहीं आया था, आप लबासना जाके ये सब इसके बारे में पढ़ोगे. सो इनिशियली जब ओपन किया था इट वाज ओनली फॉर कोवेनेंट सिविल सर्विसेज, सॉरी इट वाज ओनली फॉर नॉन कोवेनेंट सिविल सर्विसेज, दैट इज लोअर ब्यूरोक्रेसी. ग्रेजुअली कोवेनेंट को भी लेके आया था. ओके, सो ऑलरेडी इट वाज देयर, कोवेनेंट नॉन कोवेनेंट वाज ऑलरेडी देयर. ओके, इट वाज नॉट लाइक 1853 1854 में उसको पहली बार इंट्रोड्यूस किया था, ऐसा तो नहीं है. सो इट वाज ऑलरेडी देयर. In that they started with non-covenant services, then gradually they brought to covenant services also. Shweta का doubt है the difference between ICS and the system of civil services that existed before 1911. See, before 1911, whatever the system of civil services was there, it was called with a specific name of Indian civil services or imperial civil services. ऐसे तो clearly नहीं बोला था. They were just appointed as a bureaucrats in different levels. Selection हो रहा था, they were appointed based on their qualification, based on their background and based on their performance. They were transferred from one department to another. The system was not very clear. So in that system they separated the service related to administration. जो administration का काम करने के लिए कुछ अलग सा starting से ही training करना है, उनको अलग सा training देना है, अलग सा powers देना है, ये बोल के specially create किया था imperial civil services. Otherwise all of them were bureaucrats, all of them were civil servants, all of them working in all the different departments. ऐसे कुछ clear demarcation नहीं था. That demarcation was made for the first time in 1911 by the creation of ICS. ठीक है? No, Macaulay का recommendation it's known not only for covenant, it's in general civil services examination कैसे conduct करना है इसके ऊपर था. Because 1853 में the government had said, the British Crown had said through the Charter Act, it had said चलो open competitive exam करते हैं, ऐसे बोल दिया था, वो कैसे conduct करना है. So that was it. It was not about the covenant, non-covenant. Okay, they introduced only for non-covenant, then gradually they started with covenant also. So this is all about the history. The present status of civil services in India. Excuse me. Just give me 2 minutes, I'll be back. So let's talk about the present status of civil services. What is the present status of civil services? We saw what exactly is we know about government. Government के बारे में हमें पता है. All of us have studied about government. Okay, the people who are in power, who are responsible. So we have 3 different organs of government. Who are they? Executive, legislature and judiciary. Right? We have 3 different organs. लेजिस्लेचर के बारे में पता है, हम खुद इलेक्ट करते हैं इनको, लाइक एमपी एमएलए को, लाइक दे विल गो टू द पार्लियामेंट और स्टेट लेजिस्लेचर, दे विल डू द लॉस, दे विल मेक द लॉस फॉर दैट. उनका मेन जॉब यही है, मेकिंग लॉस. जुडिशरी, सो वन हु इज वायलेटिंग लॉ, उनको पनिशमेंट देना, वो काम है जुडिशरी का. बट एग्जीक्यूटिव्स आर ऑफ 2 टाइप्स. ओके, वन इज परमानेंट एग्जीक्यूटिव, second one is temporary executive. Permanent executive and temporary executive. So temporary executives are our council of ministers who are elected from the legislature. So that is the system which we follow. We call it as the parliamentary form of democracy. So where the our legislatures with majority they will form the government. जिनका majority है वो खुद government form करेंगे. That is what is council of minister. So being part of the government, they say minister है तो government चलाना है. So they have different posts. Prime Minister who leading all the council of minister and defense minister, finance minister. ऐसे उनका अपने आपस में portfolio बांट के they will run the country. But why do we call them as temporary executive? Because they are the executives. They run the country on the ground. They are the one who is taking the decision. कैसे चलाना है ना? ये जो laws बन रहा है, who is actually proposing them? Who is proposing the laws? ऐसा नहीं कि MLAs खुद propose करेंगे ना. It is the government is proposing the law. Draft bill, who introduced the draft bill? Usually government introduce करता है. If you have the numbers, even a private member भी introduce कर सकता है. But majority of the time it is the government, right? So they are actually the one who are running the country. But they have a limitation, that is 5 years ही होगा, उससे ज़्यादा तो नहीं रहेगा. We have that method, election के through उनको change कर सकते हैं. So that is what we call it as temporary executives. But ये जो permanent executives है, so they are our civil servants. The permanent executives are called as civil servant. So is there any lag? ठीक है. So ये जो permanent executive है, so their function is to run the country. Their function is to look after the country, do the administration. But the main decision is taken by the temporary executive in terms of what kind of policies, what kind of programs, what kind of laws. Overall broader level पे ये लोग introduce करेंगे, but on the ground implementation of these policies, programs and laws are done by our permanent executive. They are going to be there permanently. मतलब they are not elected, they are selected. है ना? They are selected. That means they are going to be there until they retire. एक retirement age होगा तब तक वो लोग रहेंगे. So that is what is permanent executive. And permanent executives work both for the central government as well as for the state government. Okay, we have the permanent executives working both for the central government as well as the state government. क्योंकि दोनों का अपना काम है. Central government they have certain powers, certain subjects, roles and responsibilities. ये जो division of subject तो हमें पता है ना. Central government का अपना जो चलाना है, जो काम करवाना है. For that they need officers. All of them are bureaucrats of central government. State government should also have their own officers, है ना? क्योंकि उनका अपना administration है. The subjects which are divided for state government to look after them, we need state government bureaucracy also. So there is bureaucracy from the central government as well as from the state government. So actually, हाँ चलो हाँ overall बोल सकते हैं कि we have two different bureaucracy. One is central government, another one is state government. फिर सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के अंदर जो भी है, we have classified into two categories. One is central services, another one is all India services. The bureaucrats of central government are divided into central services and all India services. State में ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. They will work only for the state. ऑल इंडिया सर्विसेज के बारे में हम डिटेल में बात करेंगे. अभी के लिए मैंने इंट्रोडक्शन दिया था, saying there are three all India services: Indian Administrative Service, Indian Police Service and Indian Forest Service, IAS, IPS and IFS. So they उनका बेसिक आइडिया है, even though they are the officers of central government, they work for the state government. They don't work for the central government. That is the idea of all India services. We have the central services who are the officers of central government and they are working for the central government only. We have the officers of state government who are the officers appointed by the state government only, and they also work for the state government. But All India Services is basically appointed by the central government, but they work for the state government. दोनों हैं. And all the All India Services are Group A services. In many of the central services, we have many Group A services, as well as Group B services, Group C services, and then Group D services. Okay, this is the higher rank. Group A is considered as higher rank. All the three All India services are Group A, and many other central services like IRS, Audit and Account, Foreign Service, and the Railway Traffic Services, IRPS हो गया, Postal Service हो गया, Trade Service हो गया. So all of that we call it as Group A only. That is Group A services. There are certain Group B services within the central services, then Group C, Group D. स्टेट के अंदर भी ऐसे ही क्लासिफिकेशन है. वी हैव ग्रुप ए, ग्रुप बी, ग्रुप सी, ग्रुप डी. स्टेट के अंदर भी ग्रुप ए, ग्रुप बी, ग्रुप सी, ग्रुप डी होता है. फाइन. जो स्टेट में सिलेक्शन होगा, दैट वुड बी सिलेक्टेड बाय SPSC, स्टेट पब्लिक सर्विस कमीशन. ओके, स्टेट पब्लिक सर्विस कमीशन मेजरली ग्रुप ए एंड ग्रुप बी का सिलेक्शन होता है. ग्रुप सी, ग्रुप डी का भी देयर इज सम रोल ऑफ स्टेट पब्लिक सर्विस कमीशन, बट उनका अलग सा एग्जामिनेशन भी कंडक्ट करते हैं. सो मेजरली ओवरसीन बाय द स्टेट पब्लिक सर्विस कमीशन. Group A services of central government and some parts of Group E services are conducted by UPSC. Okay, some Group B services of central government. Some other Group B services, Group C services, Group D services के लिए we have SSC. Okay, SSC के बारे में आपने सुना होगा. So there is another examination being conducted. SSC. आर्मी वाला SSC नहीं है, शॉर्ट सर्विस कमीशन नहीं है, ये स्टाफ सिलेक्शन. Okay, staff for the central government, staff selection commission है. Fine. At the state level we have Group A, B, C, D. At the central level we have central services, All India services. All the All India services are Group A. Some of the central services are Group A. Rest everything is Group B, Group C, Group D. In case of state, it is State Public Service Commission which looks after the selection of candidates. In case of All India services and the Group A services of central government, the central services, UPSC conducts the examination. Some of the Group B also comes under UPSC. For example, civil services. If at all you know, सिविल सर्विसेज का जो नोटिफिकेशन जो 24, 23, 24 जो सर्विसेज होता है, तो उसमें एक दो ग्रुप बी भी होता है. सम ऑफ देम ग्रुप बी आल्सो. जब फिल करते समय थोड़ा सा ध्यान से देख के फिल करना. देयर इज ए ह्यूज डिफरेंस बिटवीन ग्रुप ए, ग्रुप बी. अभी तो पता नहीं चलता है. सो वंस यू गेट इनटू द सर्विस आपको पता चलेगा द डिफरेंस बिटवीन ग्रुप ए एंड ग्रुप बी. ऑन द ग्राउंड रियलिटी है. सम अदर ग्रुप बी, ग्रुप सी, ग्रुप डी आर सेलेक्टेड बाय SSC. उनके लिए अलग सा एग्जाम कंडक्ट होता है. And in the constitution we have separate articles, the constitutional provisions for civil services, the civil servants. The articles from 309 to 322 talks about civil services in India. Okay, it talks about civil services in India. 309 to 322. इसमें मेजर है हमारा 311 एंड 312. ये दोनों आप याद रखना, बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है आपके लिए आफ्टर गोइंग टू सर्विस. 311 एंड 312. 312 भी छोड़ो, 312 तो अभी याद है आपको, पता चलेगा, लाइक न्यू ऑल इंडिया सर्विसेज के लिए वी हैव दिस प्रोविजन 312, है ना. So as per this article 312, if Rajya Sabha passes a resolution, a special resolution supported by, what is the majority? What is the majority required for the creation of new all India services? बताइए. With that special majority, if Rajya Sabha passes a resolution, it can create new all India service. Okay. So इसलिए, so one of you was saying that ऑल इंडिया जुडिशियल सर्विस AJS का बात हो रहा है, तो बहुत पहले से हो रहा है, अभी भी पेंडिंग ही है. सो लेट्स सी. So what is the majority? That was my question. The majority required. स्पेशल मेजोरिटी मैं खुद बोला था, स्पेशल मेजोरिटी उसका मतलब क्या है? What is the total membership? Which special majority we are talking about here? Two-thirds of the members present and voting. Yes, that is what I am talking about. Two-thirds of the members present and voting. ठीक है. एंड साथ ही कमिंग टू योर डाउट, ABCD दे आर सेपरेट फॉर बोथ सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट एज वेल एज स्टेट गवर्नमेंट. सेंटर में भी ABCD है, स्टेट में भी ABCD है. मतलब देर आर सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट एम्प्लॉइज बिलोंगिंग टू ग्रुप A, ग्रुप B, ग्रुप C, ग्रुप D. स्टेट गवर्नमेंट एम्प्लॉइज बिलोंगिंग टू ग्रुप A, ग्रुप B, ग्रुप C, ग्रुप D. उनका अलग अलग ही है. Once you are an employee of central government, you will remain as an employee of central government. Except ये जो बीच में है हमारा ऑल इंडिया सर्विसेज, they are the employees of central government but they work for the state government. उनका स्टेटस अलग है. we'll talk about that separately. So rest सब अलग है, अलग अलग ही है. So 312 is creation of new all India services, and 311 it's about the removal procedure of a civil servant in India. है ना. 311 is about the removal of civil servant. So basically 311 gives a protection to civil servants. So saying that there shall be no removal by any authority who is subordinate to the authority of appointment. Okay, no authority can remove who is subordinate to the appointing authority. Best example है हमारा IAS officers. IAS officers, they are appointed by the central government. In central government, who is actually appointing them? The President of India. The order comes directly from the President of India. Okay, that is the government, the central government. So even though you are working for the state government cannot remove you from service. And it cannot remove you. It can start an inquiry against you. It can suspend you temporarily. It cannot remove you from the services. Removal can be done only from the central government. That is what is Article 311. They will conduct an inquiry. जो भी होगा, they will give an opportunity. In some case, they will not give you opportunity. जो भी होगा, there should be proper inquiry. There should be proper procedure for removal. ये सब follow करके ही करना पड़ेगा. And that too, it should be the appointing authority. If the central government is appointing, it is only the central government who can remove you from the service, not the state government. इसलिए IAS, IPS and IFS officers, they are considered to be little bit powerful, है ना. तो उनको ज्यादा स्टेट गवर्नमेंट से ज्यादा खतरा नहीं है. ट्रांसफर कर सकते हैं, सस्पेंड कर सकते हैं, है ना. सो बट अदरवाइज दे कैन नॉट रिमूव यू फ्रॉम सर्विस. So is that clear? I hope you guys have written this. Now, role of civil services or civil servants in governance. Role of civil servants in governance. So majorly जो आप यहां पर जो आगे जाके जो काम करने वाला है, so क्या क्या काम करने वाला है, we'll talk about that. What is your role in civil services, in governance system? Okay, whether it is IAS, IPS, forest service, foreign service, revenue service, overall civil services जो हमारा ब्यूरोक्रेट्स है, ब्यूरोक्रेसी है, इनका क्या रोल है? प्लीज बताइए. What are the role of civil servants in governance? Okay, CS is civil servants here. Role of civil servants in governance in India. आगे जाके क्या क्या काम करोगे आप बताइए. ऑफ कोर्स एज पर द लॉ, नॉट बियॉन्ड लॉ. कि बियॉन्ड लॉ भी बहुत कुछ काम होता है ऑन द ग्राउंड. यस, स्टेट सर्विस अपॉइंटमेंट इज बाय गवर्नर. ओके, जो भी जो स्टेट का पब्लिक सर्विस कमीशन है, ओके, जैसे कि केपीएससी, यूपीपीएससी, ओके, पीएससी बोलते हैं कॉमनली, दैट इज स्टेट पब्लिक सर्विस कमीशन. सो वहां पर आपका अपॉइंटमेंट हो रहा है, यू विल गेट द लेटर इन द नेम ऑफ गवर्नर. ऑफ कोर्स गवर्नर डायरेक्टली साइन नहीं करेंगे, उनका जो साइन होता है वही कॉपी पेस्ट होता है. ऑर्डर तो उनके नाम पे ही आता है. अगर यूपीएससी में हो गया तो ऑर्डर comes from the name of president. So let's see क्या क्या काम है, like what all your thinking, what all your suggestions to implement the policies of government in society. ठीक है, policy implementation, maintain law and order, fine, good. Sejal, acting as link between government and citizen, very good. अभिषेक की सेइंग पॉलिसी फॉर्मुलेशन. आर यू श्योर अभिषेक, पॉलिसी फॉर्मुलेशन में काम है हमारा? टू इंप्लीमेंट द पॉलिसीज ऑफ गवर्नमेंट एंड मेंटेन लॉ एंड ऑर्डर. ठीक है, टू इंप्लीमेंट वेलफेयर पॉलिसीज, प्रोवाइडिंग सर्विसेज टू पीपल, गुड. Maintain continuity in administration, very good Ashish. Assisting minister in policy formulation, yes. To administer management of public enterprise, good Ashish, yes, that is also there. Promote the vulnerable section, that means promote the welfare of vulnerable section. I hope you are mentioning that. Coordination between services and services provided by government. ठीक है, to implement law and executing policies framed. Quasi judicial function, good Suraj. delegate legislation, maintain law and order, implement ground level, recommend to the government, link between the government and public. और बताइए, to grant permission to projects. और कुछ नहीं है, इतना ही है. Is there anything else? Monitor the schemes, assisting minister. चलो मेजरली बता दिया, कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट चीजें आप लोगों ने छोड़ दिया, सो सब डिस्कस करेंगे. चलो एक मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट फंक्शन छोड़ दिया. यस, वेरी गुड सूरज. हैंडलिंग फाइनेंशियल सिस्टम. यार कोऑपरेटिव फेडरलिज्म थोड़ा बहुत ज्यादा बड़ा वर्ड है, यहां पर मत डालो. Disaster management, very good Abhishek, that is what I was looking for. Disaster management, ये actually major काम है disaster management. और लाल बत्ती तो अभी हटा दिया. I hope all of you know that if any of you are coming to service with the hope of लाल बत्ती, so please be aware you will not get लाल बत्ती, except पुलिस के लिए मिलता है, वो भी जो लॉ एंड ऑर्डर में है उनके लिए ही मिलता है, so सबके लिए नहीं मिलता है. चलो बात करते हैं. फर्स्ट, पॉलिसी फॉर्मुलेशन. Policy formulation. So do we have any role in policy formulation? मैंने तो पहले बता दिया, we have three branches of the government: executive, legislature, judiciary. legislature से laws बनता है. executive में हमारा जो temporary executive है, they are the one who make policies, programs and the draft laws. and permanent executives का काम है implement करना. Is that it? Or do we have any role in policy formulation? Yes, we have one important role in policy formulation, that is advising. Okay, advising our ministers. So who are the one who are responsible for making policy? जो भी policy हो, whether it is a welfare policy or it is a economic development policy or it is a foreign policy, who are the ones responsible for making the policy? It is the ministers. Ministers will make the policy, and in the collective name of the Council of Ministers, they will make it as a policy of the government. है ना? But who is the one who is framing it? The actual people who are framing the policy is हमारा civil servants. It is finalized and implemented in the name of the government, the Council of Ministers. I'm talking not only in terms of unofficial manner. Unofficially यही लोग करेंगे, यही लोग डेवलप करेंगे, यही लोग सजेस्ट करेंगे, फाइनली गवर्नमेंट बोलते हैं चलो अच्छा पॉलिसी है, इसको एक्सेप्ट करेंगे, ठीक है. बट इवन ऑफिशियली ऑल्सो, इवन इन द ऑफिशियल कैपेसिटी, यू हैव द रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी टू प्रोवाइड guidance and advice to the ministers while making the policy. They are the one who are supposed to make the policy, right? Even in that process also, you are supposed to give advice and guidance to the ministers, because you are the one who have the ground reality, ground experience. Because if you are in that level, secretary में आप काम कर रहे हो, you are working with the ministers as in their secretariat, है ना? That means you had a sufficient on the ground experience. जब आपका सिलेक्शन होके ट्रेनिंग खत्म होके वापस आते हो ना, you will be put in the ground. You will work at different levels. Okay, then you will reach the district commissioner, okay, DC, the deputy commissioner, DC, D collector, ये सब बोलते हैं ना. उसके बाद में DM, ADM, DM, ऐसे for at least for 10-15 years you will work on the ground. then you will get promoted to that level जहां पर आप बस सेक्रेटरीट में बैठ के काम करोगे. You will not be in the on the ground. So वहां पर क्यों बिठा रहे हैं आपको? It's because you have the on the ground reality. पहले आपका खुद का एक्सपीरियंस है, दूसरा आपका जो जूनियर्स है, जो भी सबऑर्डिनेट्स है, उनके थ्रू यू गेट द डायरेक्ट इंफॉर्मेशन. व्हाट एग्जैक्टली इज द नीड ऑफ पीपल, व्हाट एग्जैक्टली इज द नेसेसिटी, उनके लिए क्या चाहिए क्या नहीं है, ये लोग आप ही लोग देखेंगे. So with that ground reality, you are going to advise the ministers in making the policies. In official capacity, you have to advise the ministers. बाद में उनका है, whether they will take your advice or not, it is up to them. They find it good, they find it politically beneficial, ठीक है, ले लेते हैं. तो इसलिए थोड़ा सा ऐसे करके भी आपको एडवाइस देना पड़ता है कि लाइक जो भी अच्छा एडवाइस है, सो पॉलिटिकल मोटिव भी उसके सामने रखना पड़ेगा. ऑफ कोर्स you cannot write all of this in your answer, please don't write that. आगे जाके जो भी आपको एडवाइस देना है at the ministerial level or for the government, so please ensure that you bring some measures which will benefit the government also. ऐसा वाला एडवाइस को ज्यादा प्रेफरेंस मिलता है, because if you are giving a honest advice, if it is not having any kind of political benefit for the government, उसको sideline कर देता है. है ना. आई एम नॉट सेइंग गिव ओनली दोज एडवाइस जो पॉलिटिकली मोटिवेटेड है, पॉलिटिकली बेनिफिशियल होना चाहिए. सो यू कैन मिक्स बोथ, यू कैन ब्रिंग द बेनिफिट ऑफ द पीपल एज वेल एज द बेनिफिट ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट, राइट. सो दैट इज वेयर द कनेक्शन बिटवीन बोथ ऑफ देम कम. सो ये सबसे बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट रोल है पॉलिसी फॉर्मुलेशन. प्लीज राइट पॉलिसी फॉर्मुलेशन. By advising the ministers, in policy formulation, and providing them the necessary information, that is policy formulation. Then मेजर काम तो यही है हमारा, पॉलिसी implementation. Policy implementation. So policy implementation में क्या होता है? जो भी गवर्नमेंट पॉलिसी बनाएगा, जो भी मिनिस्टर्स बनाएगा, जो भी गवर्नमेंट का पॉलिसी होगा, उसको इंप्लीमेंट करने का रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी आपके ऊपर रहता है. Okay, here you have no say. Here you cannot change the policy. Once the government says, okay, this is the government policy, you have to implement, irrespective whether you believe it in or not, you completely agree with it or not. For your position, you definitely have to implement. Let me take an example here. Citizenship Amendment Act, CAA, which was considered to be one of the most controversial. Okay, there are certain groups within the society who think that this is good for India. There are certain groups who think that this is bad for India. वो अपना opinion है, they are protesting through their civil society, वो अपने आप चल रहा है. But once it is passed in the parliament, once the government says, okay, this is the official policy, and once it is passed in the parliament, it becomes the official policy, official rule of from the government end. ठीक है? Once it is done in the parliament, once it is passed in the parliament, once it becomes an act, you have no say in it. The government is saying you have to implement, you have to implement. You cannot bring your personal opinion at all. Right? You might have a personal opinion against this kind of act. बोल सकते हो ये गलत है, इसका प्रोविजन ठीक नहीं है, ये खुद का पर्सनल ओपिनियन. बट व्हेन यू आर वर्किंग इन योर ऑफिशियल कैपेसिटी, यू कैनॉट ब्रिंग एनी ऑफ दैट. You will totally implement what the government has decided and what the government is saying, because you are a public servant. Okay, you are working for the government, on behalf of the government. You are just doing whatever they are saying. You have no role at all. जो भी गवर्नमेंट का पॉलिसीज होगा, लॉज होगा, यू आर गोइंग टू इंप्लीमेंट इट ऑन द ग्राउंड. ऑफ कोर्स ऑल डिफरेंट लेवल्स. ओके, डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल में जो मेजर पॉलिसी होगा, द डिस्ट्रिक्ट कलेक्टर, डिस्ट्रिक्ट डीसी जो आईएएस ऑफिसर होता है, लॉ एंड ऑर्डर का पॉलिसी होगा, आईपीएस हो सकता है, फॉरेस्ट रिलेटेड पॉलिसी होगा, आईएफएस हो सकता है, रेवेन्यू रिलेटेड हो गया हमारा आईआरएस हो सकता है ना, लाइक दैट. इवन नॉट ओनली ग्रुप ए ऑफिसर, ग्रुप बी, ग्रुप सी, ग्रुप डी, हर लेवल पे जो भी गवर्नमेंट का प्रोग्राम होगा, पॉलिसी होगा, दे आर द वन हु आर गोइंग टू इंप्लीमेंट इट ऑन द ग्राउंड. इट इज नॉट लाइक द मिनिस्टर विल कम एंड इंप्लीमेंट. इंप्लीमेंटेशन के लिए आप लोग हैं, आप लोगों का मेन काम होगा इंप्लीमेंटेशन, पॉलिसी इंप्लीमेंटेशन. सो प्लीज राइट अबाउट दिस. The civil servants are responsible for implementation of policies and laws of the government. Policies and laws of the government. Then the civil servants form the basis of government and the basis of administration. So what do you mean by that? So basically ये जो हमारा civil servants है, group A, B, C, D, both at the central level and the state level, they are the one whom we call it as the administrative machinery. है ना, they are the one whom we call it as the administrative machinery, working in all the departments. गवर्नमेंट ऑफिसर्स में जो भी काम कर रहे हैं, ऑल ऑफ देम आर सिविल सर्वेंट्स ओनली, इरेस्पेक्टिव ऑफ देयर ग्रुप. याद रखो, इट इज नॉट नेसेसरी, इट हैज टू बी ग्रुप ए, ग्रुप बी, ग्रुप सी, ग्रुप डी, ऑल ऑफ देम आर सिविल सर्वेंट्स, ऑल ऑफ देम आर पब्लिक सर्वेंट. And the actual administration, the running of the country, the day-to-day activities of the government are done by them. Okay, ministers are not going to come to office daily and they are going to sit and work. Okay, तो जो भी लोगों के लिए सर्विस देना है, जो भी लोगों को काम करवाना है गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से, they are not the one to do, they just take the decision. पॉलिसी बनाएंगे, प्रोग्राम बनाएंगे, बजट करेंगे, विल जस्ट इम्प्लीमेंट इट. इम्प्लीमेंट करने के लिए है for the various policies and laws. At the same time, जो भी गवर्नमेंट के तरफ से जो भी सर्विस होगा, it is not necessarily about, यहां पर हमने डिस्कस किया था policies and laws. So here we are discussing about the role of government. The government has various roles, various specific services, है ना, स्पेसिफिकली कुछ सर्विसेज देता है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल हेल्थ सर्विस, एजुकेशन सर्विस, पीडीएस हो गया, है ना, जो गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से पब्लिक को मिलता है, राइट. सो हु इज गोइंग टू डू दैट जॉब? हु इज गोइंग टू रन द administration on day-to-day basis? Our civil servants. So that is why we call it as the administrative machinery of the country. Okay, please write this. Civil servants form the administrative machinery of the country. They form the administrative machinery of the country. And they run day-to-day affairs. And they run day-to-day affairs. Next point. They are responsible for providing various various services of the government to people, various services of the government to people, such as health, education, transportation, etc. Is that it? Is it only the executive function? Executive मतलब जो implement करने वाला वही काम है. So do we have any judicial functions? Yes. Earlier, before 1963, there were certain judicial powers to DM. Okay, DM was also involved in judicial functions. There were certain judicial functions. After that, it was separated. पूरा administrative बना दिया. But still, even in the administrative functions, there would be certain specific areas where you have to settle certain disputes between the state and the citizen. Okay, because state is the largest service provider. It is the largest company in the country. The state provides various services. And as a customer, the citizens can raise various disputes. And these bureaucrats, they also have the power to resolve such kind of disputes through their quasi-judicial functions, which we call it as the administrative adjudication. We call it as administrative adjudication. मतलब ऐसी actual judicial power नहीं है. You cannot punish someone, you cannot put someone in jail. You can arrest, produce in front of the judiciary. वो आप कर सकते हो. You cannot give the punishment by yourself. है ना? Of course, police station में तो punishment मिलता है, वो अलग है, but you are not supposed to do that. Fine, you are not supposed to give the punishment. That is the role of judiciary. वो अलग कर दिया. But other than that, there are certain dispute resolution functions. Whatever the disputes between the citizen and the state, citizen and the government, at ground level, that responsibility is given to the public servants at the ground level. वो अपील कर सकते हैं. If you are not satisfied, you can go to the higher authorities, you can go to the court if the provision allows. वो अलग बात है. But at the ground level, जो भी issues है, जो भी grievance hai, you are the one who are responsible for resolving it. So those functions are done through some quasi judicial powers given to you, not to you exactly, but to your position, but to your authority. So that is what we call it as the administrative adjudication. Okay, please write administrative adjudication involving quasi-judicial functions such as settling disputes between state and citizen, settling disputes between states and citizen. Then most important है management of resources. जो भी गवर्नमेंट का रिसोर्सेस होगा, गवर्नमेंट owns a huge set of resources, right? Financial resources, land resources, forest resources, revenue collection, revenue management, human resource, है ना, बहुत सारा resource है which comes under the government. Who is going to manage that? Our civil servants, right? It involves the mobilization of resources as well as the management of resources. Particularly हमारा financial department में, finance के अंदर जो revenue में काम करता है ना, so they know. the importance of management of financial resources. That was also written in Arthashastra, okay, long back. It is very important for the administration of the country. So like this, that is about the financial resources. Like that, there, whatever the resources are there, everything is managed by our civil servants only. At the district level, it is the DM or DC who is the in charge of the entire such role, such function in that particular district. Okay, इसलिए ये लोग IAS prefer करते हैं क्योंकि like the diversity is more, the responsibility is more, so power is also more. Tribunal is, I think it's a way of saying that administrative adjudication only. Okay, tribunal, it's part of administrative adjudication only. Okay, where tribunals are handled by the civil servants. And IAS officer can use gun or weapon in self defense. अगर आप सोच रहे हो तो आपको गन मिलेगा, वो तो गलत है, गन तो नहीं मिलेगा. So IPS को मिलता है from his official position, so but not for IAS. So only unless you have some threat to life. Okay, वो भी पर्सनल कैपेसिटी में लेना पड़ेगा. ओके, नॉट दैट गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से. आपका सिक्योरिटी होगा, देयर वुड बी सेंट्रीज प्रोवाइडेड टू यू, देयर वुड बी सिक्योरिटी ड्राइवर, ये सब तो होता है फॉर योर सिक्योरिटी. यू आर नॉट सपोज टू, यू आर नॉट बी गिवन एनी गन इन IAS. तो IPS में मिलता है. ओके, फॉर योर पर्सनल यूज के लिए फ्रॉम ऑफिशियल कैपेसिटी. ऐसे पर्सनल यूज के लिए नहीं, इन योर ऑफिशियल फंक्शन, ऑफिशियल वर्क, कहीं पे बाहर जा रहे हो तो इन दैट केस ओनली. ओके, नॉट फॉर any other kind of use. कोई बात नहीं अंशुल. Okay, everyone has that curiosity, होना चाहिए. रोल ऑफ SDM इन कोर्ट. नो, SDM इन जुडिशियल कोर्ट में ज्यादा काम नहीं है, वो वाला फंक्शन हटा दिया. पहले था. ओके, अर्लियर इट वाज देयर एट द लोअर कोर्ट्स लेवल में, सो दे वर आल्सो इन्वॉल्वड इन द क्रिमिनल जस्टिस. सो बट दैट वाज removed. They are not involved in any kind of criminal justice system. SDM, they are not involved in the criminal justice system. Okay, but at the district level, there would be certain kind of decision in terms of adjudication of disputes, है ना, settling of disputes. वहाँ पर he will act as a judicial officer, but only in the administrative capacity, not in the criminal system. उनके लिए हमारा judiciary है, वो पूरा separate कर दिया. The separation of administration from the judiciary was done. Okay, वो हो गया. Fine. SDM will not have any role and responsibility in case of criminal justice system. So management of resource, I told you, one of the most important function which you will be performing is, that is management of resources at the district level. है ना. तो आपके अंदर इतना ज्यादा रिसोर्स आता है, इतना ज्यादा कैपेसिटी होता है. सो इफ आई आस्क यू व्हाई डू यू वांट टू प्रिपेयर फॉर UPSC, ओके, एक हॉनेस्ट आंसर इफ आई एम आस्किंग यू. सो आई हैव आस्क्ड मेनी ऑफ द स्टूडेंट्स. सो मोस्ट ऑफ द पीपल दे से इट्स फॉर द पावर, इट्स फॉर द अथॉरिटी. सम ऑफ देम honestly they say it's also for लाल बत्ती, you know. But actually if you ask me why you should prepare for UPSC, is that the authority to make a change at the position where you are going to function, है ना, that you get that authority to make a change. बाकी जो भी roles and responsibility होगा, जो भी काम होगा, definitely you can bring a change in the society, but that is beyond your work. Through your work it will take a long time to bring a change. किसी को help करना है, किसी को मदद करना है in their life, in their जो भी डेली लिविंग में कुछ करना है, तो लाइक यू हैव टू गो बियॉन्ड योर वे एंड डू समथिंग, एंड यू कैन नॉट डू फॉर ए लार्जर सेक्शन ऑफ द सोसाइटी. बट हियर यू आर गिवन दैट अथॉरिटी टू हेल्प देम, है ना. तो सच में एक काम करना है, सच में यू रियली वांट टू वर्क, डू सम रियली गुड जॉब, यू हैव दैट पावर. लोग बोलते हैं पॉलिटिशियन का इंटरफेरेंस रहता है, मिनिस्टर लोग रहते हैं, हमें काम करने नहीं देते. इतना भी नहीं होता है. इट हैपेंस, ऑफ कोर्स इट विल बी देयर, इंटरफेरेंस विल बी देयर. You should develop tolerance for that. I'm not saying that you should all agree for whatever they are saying. There is always clear rules and regulation, वो follow करो, थोड़ा सा tolerate करते जाओ, है ना? Such kind of people are always there. You really want to do good work, you can definitely do good work in your own area of responsibility. You might not be able to bring a revolutionary change in the entire system, वो तो कभी होता नहीं है, but at least in through your subordinates, through the people who are there in your office, you can bring a lot of change. That power, that authority which you get at the district level is huge. No other work, no other role, no other responsibility can bring that much of power and authority. The authority to change, the power to bring that change. So यहाँ पर जो मैंने बोल रहा था, for example, resources ले लो. Okay, take example of water management. You are also responsible for water management in any district wherever you are posted. Okay, so earlier times they used to have a large number of lakes and wetlands. Okay, over a long period of time, so these lakes and wetlands, all of them are encroached, all of them are converted. So if you really want to do some change, even if you rejuvenate some of these lakes and wetlands in some of the area जहाँ पर dry land area है, irrigation नहीं है, तो वहाँ पर even if you bring some change, it is going to make a huge impact for the entire surrounding, है ना? This is something which nobody can really see. Larger picture दिखता नहीं है, आप लोगों को दिखेगा. When you go and work at that level, आपको लोगों को दिखेगा larger picture. You have to see that. Through these such kind of involvement, such kind of activities, you can bring a really good change in the entire surrounding. है ना? आपके डिस्ट्रिक्ट में अंदर, suppose for example, so I know the situation in Karnataka, है ना? बहुत सारे डिस्ट्रिक्ट ऐसे ड्राई लैंड है, so जहाँ पर बहुत सारा लेक्स खराब हो गया. It comes under the district administration. You just have to do some basic work. थोड़ा सा ड्रेजिंग करो, थोड़ा सा चैनल इधर उधर करो, जो भी माइनर ऑक्यूपेशन होगा उनको हटा दो, एक्सकवेट करो, एंड जब बारिश आएगा उनको थोड़ा सा पानी रुकवा दो. इट विल ब्रिंग ए लॉट ऑफ चेंज. लोगों को तब पता चलेगा, हाँ इससे तो बहुत फायदा है, ऐसे अंडरग्राउंड रिचार्ज हो गया, ग्राउंड वाटर रिचार्ज हो गया, है ना? एट दैट पोजिशन, while managing the resources, you can definitely bring a change. That is what is management of resources. राइट, चलो लेट्स कंटिन्यू. थोड़ा सा ज्यादा इन डेप्थ में डिस्कस कर रहे हैं, टॉपिक स्लो हो जाएगा. मैनेजमेंट ऑफ रिसोर्सेज, प्लीज राइट डाउन. इन्वॉल्व्स द मैनेजमेंट ऑफ, इट इन्वॉल्व्स द मैनेजमेंट ऑफ लैंड, वाटर, फॉरेस्ट, वेटलैंड एटसेट्रा. इन्वॉल्व्स द मैनेजमेंट ऑफ लैंड, वाटर, फॉरेस्ट, wetland, etc. Full stop. They are also responsible for mobilization and management. They are also responsible for mobilization and management of financial resources. Mobilization and management of financial resources. And human resource management also. Okay, and human resource management too. Providing continuity. Providing continuity. So just this one and एक और heading है, ये discuss करके I'll just give you the break. Okay, तो ये हो जाएगा, ये role of civil services हो जाएगा. So providing continuity. So what exactly do you mean by providing continuity? So basically जो temporary executives है, they are the face of the administration, they are the face of the government, right? So if you ask the people who is doing the all of these welfare जो भी program है, they will say हमारा chief minister है, हमारा minister है, ये लोग कर रहे हैं. They don't actually see the administrative machinery. But during the times of change of government machinery, that is the temporary executive through election, who is going to run the administration? It is our bureaucrats. Do you see the government officers stop functioning during the election? Nahi. The government services stopping their function during the election? No. So they continue forever, whether there is anyone at the top level to give their instruction or not. And even though the ministers, the council of ministers are responsible for the overall administration of state and the country, in between, during the times of discontinuity in power, they are the ones who are expected to give that continuity. Right? From one government to another, from one election to another. They are expected to give that continuity. And whether they function for any government, whether it is a government belonging to Congress party, BJP party or Aam Aadmi, koi bhi ho, they serve the power, they serve the authority, whoever is holding that, whoever is as from the government. They don't belong to any particular party, right? So they are there to serve the power. So they should function irrespective of whoever is there in the power. So they should provide that continuity. That is what is providing continuity. तो यहाँ पर रामसे म्यूर का एक very famous statement है. Governments may come and go, ministers may rise and fall, the administration of the country goes on forever, and that is done by our civil servants. Please write. Providing continuity. When the government change due to election, providing continuity when the governments change due to election, the civil servants continue their duty and form the backbone of administration Full stop. तो ये वाला कोट आप लिखो, कोट बाय रामसे म्योर. Quote by Ramsay Muir. Government may come and go. Government may come and go. Ministers may rise and fall. Government may come and go. Ministers may rise and fall. The administration of a country goes on forever. And most important role of civil servants is crisis management. Crisis management, which involves disaster management. है ना? This is one of the most important function of our bureaucrats. Particularly ये जो IAS officers है ना? जो IAS district IAS officer is also the IAS in that particular district is also the head of the district disaster management authority. पूरा डिस्ट्रिक्ट में जो भी डिजास्टर होगा, जो भी इंप्लीमेंटेशन करना है, मिटिगेशन मेजर्स हो गया, प्रिवेंशन मेजर्स हो गया या रेस्क्यू रिहेबिलिटेशन, एवरीथिंग इज लुक्ड आफ्टर बाय द DMDC बिकॉज ही इज द हेड ऑफ द डिस्ट्रिक्ट डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट अथॉरिटी. डे टू डे फंक्शन क्या होता है DMDC का? ऐसे ज्यादा कुछ नहीं होता है कि लाइक ऑफिस में आके डेली उनको बैठ के काम करने का, नहीं. इट्स मेजरली अबाउट द सुपरविजन टू सी वेदर ऑल द डिपार्टमेंट्स ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर डिस्ट्रिक्ट इज वर्किंग फाइन और नॉट. Okay, he will regularly meet the officials from all the different departments. है ना? नया प्रोग्राम करना है, नया कुछ करना है, क्या करना है, कैसे कर सकते हैं, पूरा डिस्कस करते हैं. And most importantly, maintenance of law and order also comes under DM. Okay, one of you was asking. Okay, so whether it is policing matter में interference कर सकते हैं. We don't call it as interference. It is the responsibility. IPS in the district is under IAS. इसलिए बहुत लोग प्रिफर करते हैं IAS, है ना? जब IAS एंड IPS मिलते हैं डिस्ट्रिक्ट में, सो दे जस्ट सी what they see when they see each other, they just see the difference of 1 mark 2 mark, है ना. IPS बगल में रहता है, IAS रहता है, तो you just see the difference of 1 mark in UPSC. एक दो मार्क से ही ये फर्क आ जाता है. Okay, IAS is the in charge of law and order. Any law and order situation in the district overall comes under the responsibility of IAS. That is implemented by IPS. It is implemented by IPS. जो भी discussion होगा, जो भी decision होगा, that would be discussed by both of them, but final IAS he would prevail because overall responsibility comes under IAS only. ठीक है, it is not only law and order, financial administration, the forest administration, the resource management, everything comes under IAS only. ठीक है. मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट क्राइसिस मैनेजमेंट. जो भी डिजास्टर हो गया, जो भी क्राइसिस हो गया, जो भी पैंडेमिक सिचुएशन हो गया, और एनी काइंड ऑफ एक्सीडेंट इन लार्ज स्केल, और एनी काइंड ऑफ इश्यूज, कम्युनल इश्यूज, जो भी होगा, इट इज ऑल कमिंग अंडर IAS. ठीक है. सो दैट इज व्हाट इज crisis management. Crisis management including the natural disaster management. Crisis management including natural disaster management. Which involves the responsibilities of prevention, mitigation, rescue, rehabilitation. Prevention, mitigation, rescue, rehabilitation. So that is crisis management. है ना. ये रिसेंटली हमारा जो लॉकडाउन हुआ था, सील डाउन हुआ था, ये सारा कौन किया था? हमारा डिस्ट्रिक्ट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन. अंडर होम? अंडर IAS of that particular district, right? So these are the major overall roles of civil servants in governance. I hope we have covered the major idea of major काम क्या होता है. I hope you have got the overall overview. You will learn more in detail, more specifically. आपको ट्रेनिंग भी मिलेगा. Okay, you will read each and every rules and responsibilities के ऊपर आपका फाउंडेशन कोर्स भी है और एडवांस लेवल का कोर्स भी है. ये सारा आपका सिलेक्शन के बाद में होगा. Okay, let's take a short break and after that we'll continue with other topics of this role of civil services. Okay, including bureaucracy, democracy, ये सारा चीजें थोड़ा सा और बात करेंगे. Okay, let's take a short break. So next topic, bureaucracy and democracy. Bureaucracy and democracy. So let me just discuss what is bureaucracy. Democracy के बारे में तो हमने already discuss कर लिया. Basically it's the rule of people, okay, of the people, by the people, for the people. ये सारा हमारा discussion हो गया starting में. So what is bureaucracy? Bureaucracy. So the idea of bureaucracy is basically civil servant, civil services का जो system है उसी को ही बोलते हैं bureaucracy. But the modern idea of bureaucracy, the overall modern idea of bureaucracy, as the modern system of bureaucracy was developed by Weber. Okay, the political thinker Alfred Weber, you might have heard about him. So Weber is the one who gave this the modern idea of bureaucracy. So that's why we call it as the Weberian model of bureaucracy. Okay, we call it as the Weberian model of bureaucracy. And this is the same model of bureaucracy which was implemented by most of the colonial governments. The colonial rulers in their colonies, they implemented this. So what is this Weberian model of bureaucracy? वो जो Weberian model of bureaucracy which was implemented by that colonial rulers in many of the countries, they were continued, like India. We continued the same model of bureaucracy after independence also, with some minor modification, but overall it is almost same. Okay, only the people in power, they were changed. So this Weberian model of bureaucracy has certain characteristics. उनका खुद का कुछ characteristics है. So what are they? First one, selection. The method of selection of bureaucrats. It is important. Oh, sorry, Max Weber. I pronounced it as Alfred Weber. Sorry about that. Okay, there are certain basic characteristics of this Weberian system of bureaucracy. First one, selection. Selection in this case will happen through a transparent process. Okay, transparent process से selection होगा based on technical qualification. Okay, they will prescribe these are the qualification which we are looking forward. So whoever is fulfilling that, you will be selected. Okay, it is not based on opinion. It is not based on your personal preference. जैसे पहले हो रहा था, nomination हो रहा था. So it is not like that. So there would be a clear-cut procedure of selection based on the technical qualification, and whoever is ready to participate in that, so based on the merit, you will be selected. Selected based on the merit system and technical qualification. That is the first criteria. ठीक है? कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्जाम जैसे होगा या कॉम्पिटिटिव मेथड में सबको लिए इक्वल चांस देगा. So whoever is able to participate in that, whoever is showing their capability, you will be given the preference over there. That is what is the system of selection. Second, it is organized. Organized का मतलब क्या है? There is a clear-cut hierarchy in the entire system. Okay, there is a clear-cut hierarchy in the entire system. There would be clear-cut positions where direct selection कहाँ तक होता है. For example, in India. In India में highest position of civil services up to which you can get direct selection is Group A IAS officer जो हम बोलते हैं, है ना. Civil services में Group A IAS officer, the IPS या in case of police IRS, in case of revenues, उनका जो highest level में है, जो UPSC का examination through selection होता है, the civil services, that is the highest level at which you can directly get selected, get entry into the system. But उसके बाद में you will follow a clear cut hierarchy. ऐसे नहीं कि ऊपर जो बंदा है उसको बाहर से लेके आएंगे. That is not bureaucratic system. There would be a level at entry. You will get selected through some merit system, some competitive examination. Once you get entry, you will go through a clear cut hierarchy. There would be seniors and there would be juniors. That clear cut hierarchy and the distribution of power is clearly maintained. That is what we call it as the organized service. So once you enter the organized service, proceed कैसे करोगे? Through promotion. Okay, and that promotion in Weberian system is clearly based on seniority. Okay, it is totally based on seniority. It is not based on your performance. Performance based तो नहीं होता है, totally based on seniority. There is a reason behind this. It is very difficult to exactly set the standards to assess the performance. That will bring corruption into the system. That will bring ये जो हमारा बोलते हैं making influence, है ना, getting your people selected to the higher hierarchy. इसलिए ये सारा हटा दो, जो भी सीनियर है उसको प्रमोट करते जाओ. Clear, simple and easy. You can reduce corruption, you can reduce any kind of influence का जो भी system रहेगा, है ना, जो अपना बंदा को बिठाने का जो भी process रहेगा, वो सब गया. Everyone will be promoted based on the seniority. So that is Weberian system. Of course, इसका drawback है. We'll discuss about that later. So the promotion, the system of promotion is totally based on seniority, not based on the performance. And every position will have a fixed remuneration, fixed salary रहेगा based on your position and based on the number of years you are serving. तो आपका salary decide हो जाएगा. The entire thing is totally fixed. Then the entire system follows rigid rules. Rigid rules को follow करना है. Rules are very important because that is the one which is keeping the system intact. इस system को ऐसे system जैसे रखने के लिए rules चाहिए. You cannot bypass the rules. Otherwise again दोबारा corruption आएगा, red tapeism. Red tapeism is the byproduct of rules only, अलग है. Okay, sorry, corruption आएगा. Then there would be more chances of individual decision, individual discretion. तो ये सारा हटा दो, simple rule बना दो. So rule सबके लिए लागू है. Whether you are within the system or outside the system, you have to follow the rule. And rules are very important to maintain the status of system. That is, it will have rigid rules. Fine. These are the major characteristics. So basically, this system of overall Weberian model of bureaucracy aim to establish a stable system which will administer everything. इसको बोलते the Weberian model of bureaucracy. Okay, just write brief points लिखो. India inherited Weberian model of bureaucracy from British. India inherited Weberian model of bureaucracy from British. With following characteristics. First one, selection based on technical qualification. Selection based on technical qualification through merit-based process. Merit-based process. Through merit-based process. Second one, organized and clearly defined hierarchy. Organized and clearly defined hierarchy. Next, career with a system of promotion. Career with a system of promotion based on seniority. Career with a system of promotion based on seniority. Next, fixed remuneration. Fixed remuneration. Next, adhering to rigid rules. Adhering to rigid rules. So these are the major characteristics of bureaucracy. Okay, प्रतीक आपका डाउट के बारे में हम डिटेल में डिस्कस करेंगे. lateral entry के बारे में, should we consider lateral entry, is it efficient, is it okay, is it right, ये सारा चीजें हम बाद में दोबारा डिस्कस करेंगे about lateral entry. Okay, this is about bureaucracy. And democracy, the system of democracy has certain characteristics of its own. Okay, whatever we call it as a democratic system has its own characteristics. इसके बारे में हम already discuss किया है. So you can write down. So what is the most important characteristic of democracy? It is election. Right? The government elected by the people. The first characteristic of democracy. The government elected by the people. Second, distribution of power. Okay, we call it as decentralization. Power should not be concentrated in the hands of few. That is the overall idea of democracy. People should have the power. People should be able to replace any government, should be able to hold the government accountable. So that is what is distribution of power. Then, most important, freedom of opinion. Freedom of opinion. That means जो freedom of expression हो गया, freedom of speech हो गया, to express what you exactly know, what you exactly want, that is freedom of opinion. ये बहुत जरूरी है. Then, to make the government responsive, that is a responsive government. The government should be responsive. Responsive matlab it should reply to the concerns of the people, and it should reply as per the need of the people, right? If there is any kind of updation is required in the government policy as per the new proposal, है ना, with time the necessity, the demand of the people would change, उनका जो necessity है वो भी change होता है, तो उसके हिसाब से government should understand them and provide the administration accordingly. ऐसे एक rigid rule नहीं बनाना है. That is what is responsive government. That is also important characteristic of democracy. So if you compare these two characteristics of democracy together, there are various situations where both democracy and bureaucracy are in conflict with each other. Okay, there are various situations where they are in conflict with each other. At the same time, there are also various situations where they are complementary to each other. In some situations, the bureaucracy and democracy are at conflict with each other. In some situations, they are at complementary to each other. पहले discuss करते हैं what are the situations in which they are at conflict with each other. Conflicting situations क्या क्या हो सकता है? Okay, आप बताइए. You have understood the meaning of bureaucracy. You know what is democracy. So what are the areas where there is a conflict between both bureaucracy and democracy? Yes, election, selection, very good. Or freedom of opinion, yes. Then rigid rules, very good. The rigidity of rules, the rigid organization structure. Then responsive government. ठीक है. Conservative outlook, yes. Then yes, very good. Anshul, law and order problem can restrict the freedom of speech. Elitist, authoritarian, ठीक है. colonial mindset, fine. Feeling of superiority, fine. चलो बात करते हैं. Okay, लिखते जाओ. Please keep writing. First one, rigid organizational structure. Rigid organizational structure. One of the very important characteristics of bureaucracy is a rigid organizational structure. है ना, यहां पर तो दिया था, we have a clearly organized system, है ना, with rigid rules and regulation. This is totally can go against democracy. Which part of democracy? We want the system to be responsive, to understand the needs of the people, then work accordingly. That is what is a responsive system. And we don't want to rigidity. इससे क्या होता है? What will happen due to rigidity? Because of rigidity, red tape. You know what is red tape? Red tape is basically forcing the people to follow rules. Strict rules follow करना ही है पूरा. You have applied for some kind of government scheme. ओके ऐसे मान लो जो गवर्नमेंट ऑफिसर है जो आपको बेनिफिट जो कार्ड बन के देना है, लेट्स से दैट यू हैव अप्लाइड फॉर पीडीएस, कि पब्लिक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन सिस्टम का कार्ड जो कार्ड रहता है उसके लिए अप्लाई किया है. जो गवर्नमेंट ऑफिसर है वो आपके घर का बगल में ही रहता है. ही नोज दैट यू आर द पर्सन हु इज एलिजिबल फॉर इट, है ना. बट ऐसा नहीं है कि आप उनके पास में जाओ कि आप कार्ड बनाओगे. यू हैव टू गो टू द गवर्नमेंट ऑफिस. ठीक है, वो तो ठीक है. And he knows that you are eligible person. फिर भी you have to follow the entire rules. सबका जो वेरिफिकेशन करना है, सबका डॉक्यूमेंट सबमिट करना है ना, ये सब तो है ही. That system is required in order to ensure equality. सबके लिए एक ही सिस्टम लागू होना चाहिए. But sometimes the same system brings unnecessary delay. डिले कर दिया तो ठीक है, डिले कर दिया तो somehow we can manage, but it brings a system of corruption. They use the same rules and regulation to delay your process. They use the same rules and regulation to delay your process. बोलते फाइल अभी सुपरवाइजर देख रहे हैं, सो रूल के अकॉर्डिंगली वो जब वहां से आएगा हम अप्रूव करेंगे. तो वहां पर तो पता नहीं वो यहां से फाइल भेजा है या वहां से फाइल वापस आया है, बस यहां पर सैंक्शन करना है, पता नहीं. वी डोंट नो अबाउट दैट. ओके, इन द नेम ऑफ रूल दे मेक इट द सिस्टम, they make the system to be too rigid, red tape, they make it delays. At the same time they use this process for corruption and bribery, है ना. So this is one of the most common form of bribery. लोग पैसा इसलिए देता है कि लाइक फास्ट कर दो. ऐसा नहीं कि there is some kind of disqualification here. You are totally eligible. Just to fasten the process, you are ready to give the money, and he knows that. That is where they make the money, by misusing the rules which are required to ensure the stability of the system. उसके लिए हमने लेके आया था rules based, rule based, rigid, organized. उसी को ही misuse कर दिया, and that has gone against democracy now. Rigid organizational structure increases red tape and reduces people friendliness. Reduces people friendliness. Another major conflict है हमारा centralization. Democracy में चाहिए decentralization of power, distribution of power. It should not be in few hands. Can you see the structure itself says जो top में बैठा है उसके पास सारा powers है. He will control everyone. This is too centralized, that is too decentralized. Second one, centralization of power. Then a bureaucracy requires the system to be consistent. Okay, it requires the system to be consistent. Consistency के लिए they follow the rules. है ना, consistent मतलब क्या है? You need to follow the same procedure for everyone. जो मैंने एग्जांपल दिया, just because officer knows you personally, he cannot say मैं खुद दे दूंगा आपके घर आके, ऐसे तो नहीं बोल सकते. You have to follow the same procedure. The procedure is consistent and procedure should also be predictable. It should be predictable. There should be clearly set steps, clearly set procedures for availing any kind of service. Government का clearly set procedure होता है, so that the entire system remains stable. That was the overall idea. उसी को ही misuse कर लिया यहाँ पर on the ground. In the name of consistency, again red tapeism has increased, right? In the name of following the same procedure, bribery has increased. In the name of being regular and being consistent, they are not ready to adapt to the change. They are not responsive. They will follow the age-old methods of rules and regulation. पूरा गया, पूरा इसका जो basis था, basis on which we have formed the system, that entire system, entire idea itself has gone against it. Third point, requirement of consistency and regularity limits the capacity of the system to adapt to changes. To adapt to changes. देखो यही है जो भी लाइक अंशुल जैसे एक्सपीरियंस हम बहुत देखा है, मेनी ऑफ यू हैव सीन इन ऑल द डिफरेंट डिपार्टमेंट्स. जो पर्सनली जिनको जानता है वहां पर काम बहुत जल्दी होता है, वहां पर रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशन का जरूरी नहीं है. सो जहां पर फिर देयर इज नो मनी इज इन्वॉल्व, नो बेनिफिट इज इन्वॉल्व फॉर द पर्सन हु इज डूइंग द वर्क, तो तब सारा रूल निकल के आता है. तो जब अगर कुछ पर्सनल कॉन्फ्लिक्ट है तो वो अलग ही बात है और ऑपोजिट डायरेक्शन में चला जाएगा. देन मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंटली द एलिटिस्ट एटीट्यूड. Fine. हाँ चलो. So I was talking about elitist attitude of the bureaucracy. है ना, even though the system was adapted, the system was implemented by the colonial powers, the British rule in India, that was adapted from their rule, उसको continue किया है. British work culture still continues. The culture of लाल बत्ती, the culture of the elitism, है ना, that still continues. So that was encouraged during the British rule. वो तो encourage किया था, खुद encourage किया था ब्रिटिश वाले. जो भी ऑफिसर्स हैं उनको थोड़ा सा elite level में दिखाया था. They encouraged them to be away from the people. But that was not democracy. So if your bureaucracy is being elitist, they are actually not working for the people or not working with the people. A democratic system should work for the people and it should work with the people, not work away from the people. That elitist attitude will take you away from the people. है ना, ये सब चीजें आपको ध्यान में रखना चाहिए whenever you are going to be in the service. Okay, तो हमारे खुशी के लिए, हमारे प्रेस्टीज के लिए हम दिखा सकते हैं elitism, but that will take you away from the people. The people will hesitate to come near you. People will actually feel fearful to come and talk to you. इतना भी नहीं होना चाहिए, right? That is elitist outlook of bureaucracy. Elitist outlook of bureaucracy, yes, definitely we can say this is a British legacy, है ना, जिसको over a long period of time reduce हो गया है, reduce करना है हमें. The elitist outlook of bureaucracy will make them work away from the people. Then system of election versus selection, ये भी है, बट ये तो हम कुछ नहीं कर सकते. सिलेक्शन तो होना चाहिए, इनको इलेक्ट तो नहीं कर सकते हैं ना. There is a consistency, there requires a consistency, there requires some kind of technical qualification, वो तो जरूरी है, but that is not in democracy. Democracy में it's selection, there is more accountable, direct accountability होना चाहिए. So that is something which we have to give in, मतलब we cannot avoid that. However, there are various situations, various cases where the bureaucracy works in complementary with democracy. If the bureaucracy, they actually work for the people, है ना, the major bureaucracy at the ground level, जो district level में काम करते हैं, if they really want to do, they can act as a effective communication channel between the people and the ministers. Ministers are those who are in power, those who are making the policies, those who are bringing the policies for the people. The people are the beneficiary. इनके बीच में आते हैं हमारा civil servants. If they can act as a communication link between both of them. That is where both bureaucracy and democracy can work complementary to each other. First point, bureaucracy can work as communication channel. Bureaucracy can work as communication channel between the rulers and the ruled. Okay, between rulers and the ruled, that is people and the government. People and government. See, major issue conflict tab aata hai when the bureaucracy is inefficient. It is not the issue with the system. System to theek hi hai. When the bureaucrats are inefficient and they want to misuse it, definitely they can misuse it. But if at all the bureaucracy works efficiently, they can definitely guarantee the delivery of services for the people and for the democracy. It can work for the democracy if there is efficiency in the way bureaucracy functions. Red tapeism comes because of inefficiency. Corruption is because of inefficiency. Right? They are not functioning as per the required standards. They don't want to do. Right? If at all there is efficiency, definitely bureaucracy can work in complementary with democracy. Right? Second point. when bureaucracy is efficient, the delivery of services is assured for the people. Okay, that is, we need efficient bureaucracy. Efficient bureaucracy can always work complementary to democracy, right? Then the characteristic of predictability of bureaucracy. Okay, I told you it is a system where everything goes by rules. Uska one implication is the entire system is predictable. वो भी चाहिए डेमोक्रेसी में. We want a predictable system in order to ensure equality. है ना? You make it too unpredictable. Responsive के नाम पे you give more discretionary power to the officers. We know how exactly it works. है ना? ज्यादा भी discretionary power नहीं देना चाहिए. We should make it more predictable, right? The predictability and impartiality of the bureaucratic system definitely is required in democracy in order to ensure equality and rule of law. That is where they are working complementary to each other. Fine. The predictability and impartiality of bureaucratic system ensures equality and rule of law. Overall, if you see the job of bureaucracy, what is the job of bureaucracy? To fulfill the socio-economic goals of the country, right? That is the overall job of bureaucracy. Provision of services, education, health, infrastructure, है ना, maintenance of resources, agriculture management. So all of this is actually the job of bureaucracy, right? The overall goal of bureaucracy itself is to fulfill the socio-economic goals of the country. So that ensures there is democracy in the country, right? The function of bureaucracy is actually to ensure democracy if they fulfill the socio-economic goals of the country. Next one, the socio-economic goals of the country set by the democracy. The socio-economic goals of the country set by the democracy are fulfilled by the bureaucracy. Are fulfilled by the bureaucracy. Okay, एक लास्ट टॉपिक है, इसको खत्म कर लेते हैं आज. सिविल सर्विसेज न्यूट्रलिटी. ओके, ऑलमोस्ट ब्यूरोक्रेसी का आपको आइडिया आ गया तो यू कैन इजीली अंडरस्टैंड दिस. सिविल सर्विसेज न्यूट्रलिटी. What do you mean by neutrality? Can somebody tell me the definition of neutrality? Is there any difference between neutrality and rationality? चलो, रैशनैलिटी तो बहुत इजी है, ठीक है, जो लॉजिक बेस्ड होता है, दैट इज व्हाट इज रैशनल. रैशनल डिसीजन मे नॉट ऑलवेज बी न्यूट्रल, राइट? So what is the difference between neutrality and impartiality? Is there any difference between these two? हाँ, बहुत लोगों ने बोला है कि impartial, neutrality means impartial. Now I am asking the same. Is there any difference between neutrality and being impartial? Which one is unbiased? Neutrality is unbiased or impartial is unbiased? या दोनों सेम ही है? Neutrality or impartiality, is it both same? Neutrality is diplomatic and impartiality is unbiased. Good. So that's rational means logical, neutrality means not being biased. Then what is impartiality? Is the same as neutrality? चलो, so time थोड़ा सा shortage है, बता देता हूँ मैं. Neutrality and impartiality. Let me take a simple example and tell you. See, neutrality is not to take any sides. For example, Second World War. Second World War में गलती किसका था पता नहीं, we don't know. Both the parties are fighting, so both are causing damage. I will remain neutral. I will not take anyone's side. That is neutral. ठीक है? To not to take side and totally remain outside that. दोनों साइड को छोड़ के मैं बाहर हूं. I'm not taking anyone's side. That is neutrality. Impartiality is not to have any kind of preconceived notions. Okay, ये मेरा है, इसके लिए कुछ कर लेते हैं. नहीं. With a logical, rational mindset, you will take the decision. In the same example of Second World War, if you are impartial, you will take a decision, ठीक है, किसका गलती था. By analyzing the facts, by analyzing the whatever the evidences are there, by analyzing that you will take a logical and rational decision whose mistake it is. कौन start किया था, whether it is Germany or whether it is Russia or it is England or it is France, कौन start किया था. By analyzing the things rationally you take a decision. That is what is impartial. Neutrality, you are not taking any side at all. That is what is neutrality. In civil services we need neutrality. ठीक है? In civil services we need neutrality. You should remain neutral with respect to the political party in power. Because in India we follow the system of parliamentary democracy. A political party with largest number of seats in Lok Sabha will form the government, or in legislative assembly will form the government at the state level. The people who are there in the power, they are actually represent some kind of group, some kind of political party. So irrespective of the political party which is coming to power, which is forming the government, you should function. It should not matter to you whether it is Congress government or BJP government or Trinamool Congress or Aam Aadmi, कोई भी हो. It should not matter to you. You should remain totally neutral. So that is what is civil services neutrality. Fine. In the context of civil services neutrality, it means political neutrality alone. It means political neutrality. You should not get confused with impartiality. Impartiality नहीं आता. Impartiality जहां पर आते हैं where you are working. You will see the facts, you will see the truth, then you take the decision. That is what is impartiality. दो लोग आए हैं, दोनों बोल रहे I am eligible for this particular scheme, but एक ही लोगों को benefit मिलेगा. In that case, you will see the fact, you will find the most eligible one and you will give the benefit for them. That is what is impartial. ठीक है? You cannot remain neutral over there, right? ऐसे नहीं बोल सकता नहीं नहीं I cannot take any sides, so मैं किसी को भी नहीं दूंगा. That is what is that you cannot do that. In the context of political affiliation, you should show neutrality. That is what is political neutrality. In your function, in your work, you cannot show neutrality. You should bring impartiality over there. Okay, you have to take the decision based on the rational evidences, rational facts available over there. However, with respect to government agenda, the government policy and government program, you can neither show neutrality nor impartiality. You should totally support it. With respect to government agenda and government policy and programs, you always have to support it. You always have to take the side of government. Best example मैंने दिया था हमारा Citizenship Amendment Act. Personally, if I ask your opinion, you might have against, you might have for, whatever it is. If the government has passed it, you have to support it. There you cannot show any kind of neutrality, any kind of impartiality, कुछ भी नहीं आएगा. You always have to for. You always have to be for the government, of course. In government functioning, you cannot bring neutrality. In case of political affiliation, you should show neutrality because it should not matter which party is in power. In case of your work, you should show impartiality, where you will take the decision based on the rational facts available. But in case of the government functioning, the government policies and programs, you cannot show both neutrality as well as impartiality. Is that clear? So why do we need political neutrality? क्यों political neutrality चाहिए? Okay, please write briefly about this. What is this civil services neutrality? To function in a neutral way, irrespective of the political party in power. Irrespective of the political party in power. Full stop. It means lack of political affiliation by the civil servants. Okay, benefits of civil services neutrality. Why there should be civil services neutrality? First one, civil services neutrality ensures a stable and continuous administration. It ensures stable and continuous administration. Because nobody is going to interfere. You are not aligned with any particular political party. So they are not going to come and help you. If the opposition party is there, they are not going to come and threaten you. Nobody is going to interfere if you are showing totally neutrality. It provides a stable and continuous administration. Second, to function efficiently. To function efficiently, ये भी जरूरी है ना? Efficiency is when there is no interference. In case of neutrality, there is no interference. Efficiency is more. Third, to function without fear and bias. To function without fear and bias. Fourth, to serve all the people to serve all the people, that is all the sections, है ना, even those who didn't vote for, even those who didn't vote for the party in power. ये तो आपका काम है ना. ऑफ कोर्स पार्टी का भी काम है, पार्टी का मतलब गवर्नमेंट का काम है कि लाइक सबके लिए काम करो, बट इन रियलिटी कभी कभी नहीं होता है कि लाइक दे विल बेनिफिट एवरीवन, बट एज ए ब्यूरोक्रेट यू आर नॉट चेंजिंग विथ इलेक्शन, है ना. गवर्नमेंट चेंज होता है, आप तो चेंज नहीं हो रहा है ना. यू आर ए कंटिन्यूअस, यू आर ए परमानेंट ब्यूरोक्रेसी, सो यू हैव टू सर्व ऑल द सेक्शंस, not only those sections who are voting for the government. There are certain sections who are voting for the opposition party, there are certain sections who are not even voting. सबके लिए आपको सर्व करना ही है. So यहां पर political affiliation बिल्कुल नहीं होना चाहिए. Is that clear? So that is civil services neutrality. So let's stop here and we'll continue in the next class. So in the next class let's try to cover few of the aspects in the current context, that is what is all India service, what is cadre based allocation, है ना, what are the various reforms required, including ये जो हमारा मिशन कर्मयोगी, ये सारे चीजें हैं, इसके बारे में बात करते हैं. Okay, I was telling about lack of political affiliation by the civil servant. Okay, lack of political affiliation by the civil servant. Fine. So I will see you all in the next class. Thank you very much and have a good night.